Thank you so much for coming out here today. I was conscripted into the IDF Air Force during COVID in August of 2020. Our Tiranut, our basic training, contained the biggest heat wave in Israeli history. 3 people in my unit fainted from heat stroke as we stood out in the blistering sun in our COVID masks. I did not want to be there, but not because of the heat or the masks or because of the time away from home. Rather, I deferred my service to a yeshiva and refused to enlist in combat because of something that in my community in Israel was too taboo to talk about. My community was a settlement where my family continues to live. In the settlements, going into the IDF is an honor and a privilege. And as an American Ola, it was also assured to me to be a rite of passage. Join the military, and through that, you will become truly Israeli. What's more, joining the IDF was a foregone conclusion. Everyone drafts, everyone serves, unless you are a religious woman or a man so devoted to Torah that you don't even want to work a secular job. Those who received exemptions for medical reasons, including for mental health reasons, were expected to volunteer to join the IDF anyway. Anything short of that was considered a mark of shame. And here I was, doing my best to articulate why I didn't want to serve. I grew up learning that we were Hachi Musari Ba'olam, the most moral army in the world. Soldiers were my neighbors, friends, Bnei Kiva counselors, and cousins. And yet, living in a settlement, I saw with my own eyes how our Palestinian neighbors were mistreated, abused, discriminated against, and were impoverished. How much fear, anger, and hatred was felt from the settlement towards them. They were treated like a problem, the Palestinian question. I saw that when things were quiet, nothing changed for peace, and instead, Israel would build even more settlements, argue for greater control over the West Bank, and seek greater legitimacy on the international stage. And when things rose to violence, there were terror attacks, and Israel would use their newfound control to crack down hard as a part of a failed strategy of deterrence. These were not moral actions, and this strategy does not promote peace nor safety, but death and destruction, trading the lives of Jews and Israelis, Palestinians, and Arabs for power. Shame. Busha. 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 2 weeks after being deployed to my airbase, the closest combat airbase to the border with Gaza, trained as a munitions and explosives technician for the F-16 fighter jets, I was asked to load bombs on a jet to be dropped on targets in Gaza. It was March of 2021, and this was a preliminary strike in what would be called Operation Shomer Chomot, Guardian of the Walls. It would kill 260 Palestinians and 11 Israelis, the majority of whom were civilians. At that moment, I refused to serve in the IDF anymore. I refused.
Thank you for your service.
I refuse to participate in a military that tries to solve conflict and disagreement through war and violence. There is no military solution. This deterrence policy was the policy of the Netanyahu government before, and all the more so, and in a more aggressive form, it is the strategy of the government now with Ben Gvir and Smotrich. They sacrificed the lives of Israelis, and they sacrificed the lives of many, many Palestinians to reach a point of absolute state power. They promise security and deliver the opposite, authoritarianism. They are very open about wanting to cleanse the land of Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank of all Palestinians who dare challenge their power from the river to the sea. And while the most brutal and devastating tactics of starvation, indiscriminate bombing, and war are reserved for their Palestinian victims, they do not stop with them. Israeli dissenters are arrested for flying Palestinian flags, for hanging posters calling for peace in Arabic. Because of my conscientious objection, I was court-martialed 8 times, leading to 6 military imprisonments over the course of 4 months. During my second imprisonment, the Refuser Solidarity Network, Mr. Vote, was able to contact me and help me get to an eventual discharge. Today, they are assisting and advocating for Tal Mitnick and Sophia Orr, who are currently and bravely conscientiously objecting to this immoral war as they too sit in military prison. We are here today to call for an end to the war and for a return of the hostages. These are objectives that are connected strategically through an immediate bilateral ceasefire, but they are also connected at their core message. When we call for these things, we call on Israel, and by that I mean the Israeli government here, to put the lives and safety of innocent people over abstract and undefined slogans that license force. We call on Israel to fulfill its promise of protecting the lives of Israelis and Jews, not endangering them. We call on Israel to sanctify all civilian life, to stop the killing, the crimes against humanity, and worse. We call on Israel to understand that there is no security without peace, no safety without coexistence, and no equality under occupation. For me, the core message of what we are trying to say is that the destinies of the Jewish and Israeli and Palestinian people are intertwined. War and killing are not the answer, they are counterproductive to secure, flourishing lives for everyone. Endless conflict and war secure only one thing: power for those who deserve it least. The cycle of violence is designed to keep authoritarians and even fascists in power they otherwise could not keep. Bibi, Smotrich, and Ben-Gvir are extending this war not for Israel, but for themselves, to punish anyone who opposes them and to have an excuse to hold on power. The real Israelis look out for Israel. They look out for human rights. It is time for Bibi to resign, for Israel to hold elections, and to get our hostages home to their families. It is time for an end to the war, to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, to the starvation, civilian killing, and crimes against humanity. The best time for a ceasefire was months ago. The second best time is now. Bring them home. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.